Without a faction, the Time Travelers are the support faction of support factions in Smash Up. Offensively speaking, all they can bring to the table is a single extra minion play from Time Walk, 3 instances of virtual movement from Dr. Wen and Do-Over, and some removal resistance on Jumper. On the other hand, if paired with a partner faction that has broken actions or broken minion abilities, that same virtual movement can be used to repeat up to 3 different minion abilities, and the Time Travelers have 3 cards, 2 repeater perfects, and 1 It's Astounding, that they can use to repeat an already played overpowered action. And so as a result, they become an excellent Aliens partner in 1v1. Playing 5 Terraforms a game tends to guarantee you winning against just about anything you could possibly face. Also a very good Geeks partner by recurring Force of Will repeatedly, or recurring Control Minion repeatedly, or even just recurring Banned List and sticking your opponent's entire deck on the bottom of their deck. They'll do quite well with any other faction that has a decent number of overpowered cards as well. But if you play them with a faction that doesn't have much of a good offense, you're going to find out that your Time Traveler deck just doesn't really get anything done. And as a result of this, Time Travelers, without the Titan especially, tend to be really bad in multiplayer. Now, Timebox gives the Time Travelers a little bit of an identity of their own outside of copying somebody else's moves. It has about 50% uptime in most games, which means that you can pair it with other factions that have Titans as long as those other factions are okay with not having 100% uptime. It's also, once you have the counters, it's very flexible in when you bring it out, which helps it work with other Titan factions. And it provides 2 extra plays every single turn, which can be used to do a lot of things. Generally speaking, it gives you a large tempo advantage over your opponent, which basically means you're doing more things per turn than they are. This works nicely with the fact that the Time Travelers have 3 cards that slow down their opponent's tempo-wise in some way, 2 return-to-hand cards, which get better with the release of Titans because you can dump all the power counters off an opponent's Titan with them, and Stasis Field, which is a very, very cool card for any sort of tempo war, because you play this and a base just flat out can't score unless your opponent has a way to remove an action. And that means that if you are playing at one base and an opponent is playing at a second base, you lock down the second base, break your base, and you basically time walked a full turn on your opponent. I mean time walk in the old Magic sense, not time walk in the specific Time Travelers card. So for partner factions that you can use with Timebox, Time Travelers are now a Broken Robots partner, and they work well with anything that has heavy card draw that can make good use out of the extra action. So Wizards, even with their Titan, are a good Time Travelers partner now. Granny's is a better Time Travelers partner than it was before. There were already some tricks you could do involving getting back your Time Walk, but now you can also use the card draw to help make sure that you always have 2 actions to play every turn, and that helps put the deck a little bit over the top. As far as opponents, because of Timebox's extra action, Time Travelers now counter both the Elder Things and Cthulhu, because they basically don't care about an incoming Madness attack. Furthermore, in multiplayer, because you're able to effectively get rid of the Madness from the Madness attack, you can make sure that an opponent with the Cthulhu Titan will target the 3rd or 4th player in the game instead of you, because there's no point in handing you Madness when you're getting an extra action every single turn to get rid of it. So if you see a Madness faction in a draft pool and you also see Time Travelers, you want to get your hands on the Time Travelers. So a few of the Time Travelers cards require some specific care and feeding that you can do regardless of what you have as a partner faction. Time Walk is the most obvious card. It is 2 card draws, extra minion play, extra action play, but it goes right back to the bottom of your deck so that you can't abuse it with its Astounding. First off, you can use Grannies to take it from the bottom of your deck to either the top of your deck or your discard pile and then get a chance to play it, but if you don't have Grannies as a partner, what you need to do is reshuffle your deck as fast as possible. Wormhole is a good way to do this, and you want to aim for a Wormhole reshuffle, shuffling the minions from base into your deck, even if you have to shuffle some jumpers back into your deck instead of placing them into your hand to do so, because if you've got 20 cards left in your deck, you are on average taking Time Walk from 20 draws down in your deck to 10 draws down in your deck, and that's a significant advantage towards getting the Time Walk again, drawing 2 cards with it again, and just generally actually having offensive things that you can do with Time Travelers. When you're reshuffling cards, you also want to try to use Time Raider's ability to place cards on the bottom of your deck, and you mostly want to use Time Raider's ability for your biggest minions. Because if you use Time Raider's ability on actions, you are reducing the power of its Astounding because you make it less flexible. Even though you could use Time Raider to put its Astounding on the bottom of your deck and then reshuffle your deck with its Astounding in it, you usually have more opportunities to get its Astounding back by just playing Repeater Perfect to put it on top of your deck. And if you reshuffle your Repeater Perfects into your deck, you will draw them sooner. That's the reshuffling management part of the deck. I was talking about losing jumpers to reshuffles. They come back to your hand whenever they would go to the discard pile, unless, of course, an opponent has gained control of it and chooses to say no to the you may. But the other nice thing is that Time Box gains counters whenever cards come back to your hand. If you let your Time Box leave play while having a couple jumpers in play at the same time, you can then break a base with those jumpers, have the jumpers come back to your hand, garner an extra couple counters for your Time Box and bring your Time Box back faster, which also works well with the jumpers because the jumpers are a fairly unlimited supply of 2-power minions that you can use with Time Box's extra 2-power minion play. So the jumpers are another hook you want to go on now that you have access to a Titan. And the other 2 cards you can try to break in order to get big advantages are, of course, Stasis Field. If your opponents don't have ways to remove actions, you can use this to just stall them out for an entire turn once they've committed to a base and they have that base all tanked up and they're all ready to win it. You just say, no, you gotta wait a turn. And then if you have a way to play it back from your discard pile with its Astounding, you can make them sit on their hands for an extra turn, which is extra fun. And finally, Dr. Wen. Remember that your 5 has virtual movement associated with it. Because if you place even a 3-power minion on some irrelevant or secondary base, the threat of playing Dr. Wen becomes an 8-power threat at the main base, rather than just a 5-power threat. And this in turn means that if you get a little bit ahead on overall tempo with Time Box, he can turn into almost just an 8-power boss by himself, which is pretty broken in comparison to just a 5-power minion. And that, I think, is everything important to really know about the Time Travelers. Oh, except Time Traveler Spies looks great on paper, but you don't have time in a game of Smash Up to get to the point where you're able to play Time Walk in rapid succession unless your opponent is just sitting on their hands instead of actually playing the game. So don't try that one.